Whatever.
There's no.
Hello, Frog fans. Welcome back to Postgame Beers Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Malloy, joined by my co-host, Jacob JD Sailors. We've got our producer, Crazy Ray Cartwright. We've got the Sultan of Stat and current San Diego resident, Martin Guerrero, as well as our ultra marathon loving horse, Garrett Evans. The full crew is in the house tonight to talk about the pitchers for Frog Ball. And guess what?
Baseball!
That's what I'm talking about.
Baseball!
Just 24 hours until, actually less than 24 hours, we'll be watching Frog Ball USA. We cannot wait. Let's go. Let's go. Fellas, we're here and we're excited. It's going to be a night to talk about one sad thing, but a lot of glad things. Jacob, how you doing?
Yeah, let's get to it, MK. I mean, injuries are certainly the worst, and I'm sure everybody knows by now that injury related. While doing deadlifts in the gym, I strained my left lat yesterday, so I'm going through it right now. I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Hashtag RIP.
You know what's really messed up?
Please, JD.
Hold on a second. Is this pod ending surgery? Are we talking about right now?
Well, I think I'm going to be able to pod through it. And obviously, I don't mean to make jokes about being able, but you know what's really messed up is it was on my first warm-up set. First rep, first warm-up set, boom, felt it.
We didn't warm up properly.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what
You got to stretch.
Somebody forgot to stretch over there.
Yeah.
No, look, we can
Not following the proper protocols.
No, stretching's actually bad for weightlifting. We can get into all that. We can debate after the fact, but yeah,
you get older, it doesn't matter anymore. It does not matter.
I'm happy to see you battling through adversity.
Well, what it is, MK, it's not so much getting old necessarily. It's when you start skipping workouts and you kind of miss back day for a few weeks, then your lats are weak and you try to the whole deal.
The only workout I've missed in the last year, I don't miss workouts. I can do 12-ounce curls all day.
Oh, man,
You don't miss workouts when you have no workouts on the schedule. That's right.
Bang.
So what we're going back to is the fact that we think just Ben Abel's right arm was really weak, and that's what was causing the issue.
Did Kirk really say he had forearm stiffness on the pod? Because I did not hear that.
I'm gonna have to listen back.
But it was very subtle. It was subtle, and he did not say it in a way that would allow us to even ask more questions because we just blew it off.
My ears perked up.
Bro, oh my God, I wish I would have heard that at the time because I would have said, is he going to pitch this year? Because that is forearm stiffness means Tommy John all the time.
Pretty much a precursor.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we have plenty of time to be sad. Let's be happy. Martin, can you hear us all the way out in San Diego? Are you there, Martin?
It's a 2-hour delay, but yeah.
Martin, I thought you weren't allowed to go to San Diego.
Nobody can stop me.
We'll see if he gets in the stadium. Just take a picture.
So are you are you hitting up Old Town tonight? Are you going to go party with some SDSU co-eds? Like, what's the plan?
I've been to Old Town already, and I've gone to 2 breweries already, so there you go.
Oh,
ready to bring the heat tonight.
This is like Martin partied up. This is as partied up as you're going to get him.
Yeah,
I'm only here so I don't get fined.
I want to hear some Martin HSOs tonight on the pod.
Well, you know what's funny is Martin texted me last week. He was like, all right, there's 22 pitchers. I got 14 of them. You guys just handle the rest of these. And then he texted me today and he's like, fuck, forgot my notes. Can you guys help me out?
I'm glad I'm prepared for 4 pitchers. I'm like 3 hours to go. Hey, by the way,
when he first texted me, I'm like, all right, so we're getting the Martin pod. And then today it's like, I'm out.
You had a whole night to sit there and write based on your thoughts.
Wait,
Yeah.
we were supposed to prepare for
Okay,
pitchers?
Ray, old bit. Nobody's falling for it anymore.
Hey, before we get started,
Find out in
not
about
actually
20
be-
minutes how old that bit actually is.
we're gonna we're gonna jump into pitchers, but I want to talk about some sponsors. Thank you to Long Drink. We appreciate you supplying us throughout the season. Ray's got that zero sugar citrus, always delicious. They've also
It
got
never misses.
That's right. And our newest sponsor, we've got Chinook Seedery. They are the best seeds in town. I've got the lemon pepper here. I'm going to open it up and kind of try it live. I've had their regular, tried their jalapeno ranch today. That was actually, honestly, some of my favorite that I've had ever.
you do the MS, what's it called? SMR or whatever it is, where you do the seeds up by the microphone. You can just hear ASMR, the sunflower seeds.
Use the code LDC to get 10% off every order throughout the season. Thank you, Chinook, for
Dude, and
jumping in.
you know what? And thank you for everybody that has already ordered. I love when we pod and I get the emails. Boom, you have a sale. Because look, it's all that money we're getting, we're just reinvesting back into the pod. So we make a better product when you guys buy products. So
and by reinvesting in the pod, we mean sending Martin to an away game series.
No, no, absolutely not. All right.
We got a lot to talk about tonight. We got a big pitching crew, a ton of freshmen to discuss. But first, let's talk about maybe some outgoing talent. Is that something we want to start with, or do we want to talk about that later? Because I know we have a lot of things to talk about with the current team.
Yeah, I think we should get into the big news of the day, and that's Ben Abelt. He's out for the year.
Go for it.
Yeah, like we just talked about, Kirk. Okay, so let's back up. So he pitched over the weekend, last weekend. He was planned to go 2 innings. He went 1. His velocity was down. Not a good sign. So he was held out for this weekend against San Diego State. We had Kirk on Monday. Was it Monday? Tuesday. We had Kirk on Tuesday, and apparently I missed it, but he said that Ben had forearm tightness, and velocity down and forearm tightness. We've seen that happen to pitchers in the major leagues, across college baseball, hell, even at TCU. And that is Tommy John. And that's what Ben Abelt's looking at. Torn UCL, out 6 to 9 months. Pretty big blow. Let's just go around the room and talk about, the impact, what your thoughts are on this, that kind of deal.
Well, my first thought is, 6 to 9 months, if that's only the recovery timeline, that's not that. That doesn't sound like full blown Tommy John. Because
usually it says partial tear, I believe.
Yeah, it's a partial tear, and I think it's different than Tommy John, where they just replaced the UCL. I think they just put a bridge on it, but that's the whole season.
Yeah, right.
But it's not. Usually if you're getting full blown, that's like 15 months. That would be into next year.
Yeah,
that's almost all of next year too.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about a guy tonight, Cademan Parker, who I think he probably, what did he miss, about 15 months?
Yeah. Thereabout. With off season and all that.
Yeah. Russell Smith was another guy. He was out for what seemed like forever. So I don't know what, Ben's status is with the program, whether he'll go pro next year or come back, but he's definitely gone for all of this year. He was pegged to be our, Friday night starter coming out of the bullpen the last 2 years. So it is a huge blow, and I hate it for Ben. I hate it for the pitching staff. I don't think it just tanks us as far as the pitching aspect goes. What do you guys think?
So can I, my first thought, you asked the question earlier, was obviously, first thought is it sucks, right? You start thinking about, oh man, the season's done. Like that's your first thought as a Frog fan, our number one starter or guy coming back that we know that can produce. But my second thought was, when's the last time we didn't have a guy that was gone for the season that we were really counting on?
I mean, I feel like it doesn't happen all that often. I think TCU is pretty blessed in that. Like you look at Arkansas, and like every year, right at this time, they're losing someone out of their starting rotation.
Yeah,
I didn't mean starting rotation. I just meant a pitcher in general. And Ben has bounced back and forth between starter and reliever.
Oh,
yeah, mostly as a reliever, but yeah, he was. When you're like. This is especially big news from a national perspective when you're looking at TCU and it's like they lost their Friday night guy. For a lot of programs, and by a lot, I mean almost all of them, I think that just pretty much wrecks your pitching staff.
Yeah.
I think TCU is one of the few blessed, rosters in America where they can sustain this and still have a really good, pitching rotation.
Which we will talk about throughout the episode to kind of hopefully bring the Frog fans back to the fact that, like, hey, this is a very deep, bullpen and crew that can actually maybe start.
Because I mean, I was going to say, JD, like, obviously your first thought, like you guys said, is, dang, this really sucks, and you really feel for Ben. But as just your Frog fan sitting on the couch, your first thought would obviously be, we lost a Friday night guy.
Yeah.
But with him gone, you also have this whole nother competing feeling of like, wow, now this is another level of intriguing because we have so many guys who can come in and fill that role, and we're going to find creative ways to fill that role because we have the talent to do it. So it's a kind of another fun, intriguing factor for the team, opposed to being a death nail like some Twitter would want you to believe it is.
Yeah, and you know what, Ben, we would have talked about Ben in a much different way tonight had he been healthy. But one thing to note with Ben is he hasn't been a starter at TCU. He's only gone longer than 5 innings one time in his whole career.
I think that was going to be a concern we probably talked about.
But that's kind of what I was getting at earlier, was that we haven't seen him in that role yet. And so if it was after 2023 and we're saying, whoa, Cole Klecker's out, oh my gosh, our season's done, in 2024, because we had seen him in that role for so long.
That's kind of my point, right? Is, let's say Ben was just going to be in the bullpen this year. Now you're talking about just losing a bullpen guy.
Right.
Which, it sucks, but it's not the magnitude of the headline of you're losing your Friday night guy. So
in this case,
hold on, Garrett, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
My point is, like, even with Ben in the rotation, there's still some uncertainty there because he's never been a starting pitcher.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think the reason why it's such a big deal on the national stage is because we did lose our Friday night guy from last year, and Ben Tolley, who had one of the best single seasons of a TCU pitcher ever. So you were, at least on the national stage, you were expecting Ben Abelt to replace that.
Yeah.
And now Ben Abelt's gone. So
it's definitely a big blow to the pitching staff. I'm not trying to downplay the impact Ben would have. I'm just trying to put it in a little bit of perspective that it's not it's not like Arkansas losing Gakel. Their first round draft pick, starting pitcher, no shit starting pitcher guy, right?
I have a question for you. So we had Kirk on Tuesday. Let's assume he wasn't confident of the diagnosis or prognosis at that point, right?
I got a feeling he knew, but yeah.
Okay. Let's assume he did then. All right, let's go with that philosophy. He seemed pretty chill and pretty excited about the team, and didn't seem like he had a lot of concerns about the rest of the staff, right?
I mean, he shouldn't, looking at the talent that they've amassed.
That's the thing, right?
I'm not saying Ben is not a big part of what his plan was for 2025. I'm saying based on his reaction of the news that he had gotten maybe, a day before or a week before, who knows? He was pretty confident in this squad.
And he should be. And, I think we as a group, we are too. I hope there's some people listening who might have spent all day panicking that, after this next hour or whatever, they'll be a little more encouraged about what this team's going to bring on the mound. But to play devil's advocate to your Kirk point, I think that dude would be super chill in an interview if us five were the starting rotation.
Yes. And
disagree.
To back up that point, I don't think, let's say I would be worried about a coach because you can lose a pitcher, any pitcher at any time. I mean, it's so common, these injuries, but I would be worried about the coaching staff if they were freaking out because a guy's out for the season.
Yeah.
It'd be hilarious if he was like, don't feel great about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if coaches were being honest, I mean, just pick a school out there who, they have a Friday night guy. And then after that, it's like, hold on for dear life. If they lose that Friday night guy, if you were to get them in an honest situation, they're probably freaking out. I just think TCU is one of the blessed programs out there that has enough talent to, if everything goes according to plan, we can overcome this. So I think about back in 2016 when Luke and Baker got to campus, he was in our rotation. And he was supposed to be a big part of that season. We lost him in like March to where he could only DH for the rest of the year. That team went to Omaha. And then in 2017, he wasn't even part of the pitching plans at all. We lose him anyway. He's out entirely. We went to Omaha. So if the rest of the team comes together, you can overcome a guy that goes out.
Yes, and those Arkansas teams seems like they lose one of their starting pitchers every year, and they still host a regional. Yeah, and I forgot what I was going to say.
Then they forget how to catch pop-ups.
Can we? God damn it! Every single episode. Ray.
Yeah.
All right. Can we?
Ray will play the hits.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Can we talk about Ben for a second? What do y'all like? That was my second or third thought at this point. Was like, what does he do next? Does he take the year to recover and come back to TCU for more draft tape, or he's like, I'm out. I need to get to the ML. Like, what's his next step?
I kind of feel like it's a Caveman Parker situation all over again, right?
I think it's way too early to make a guess.
Yeah, me too.
Well, both are very possible. He could get signed or he could get drafted and signed early enough, and he could come back next year.
I'm going to go out on that strong tree limb and say he'll be back.
I lean to that too, but I more agree with Martin that it's not even worth contemplating at the moment.
NIL certainly helps, but yeah, you're right. We don't know. So, all that said, Ben's likely not listening, but it's been a pleasure to watch him pitch at TCU. He's a blast. His arm motion is so unique, and it's fun when he's on a heater and striking guys out. Was really looking forward to that this year. So it's a shame. Anything else on A-Belt?
I probably have a million thoughts that I'm not even thinking about right now, but I think I got the big ones out.
I think they'll come up later.
I'll give you one more, MK. Just the Twitter freak out was expected. We were bracing for this to break for about a day. And once it did, it was like, all right, here we go. And one of the reactions that I wasn't really anticipating was, we need to fire the strength and conditioning staff.
Shut up. Did someone say that?
Yeah, look, I'm talking about one person, right?
Okay.
And I don't even know. It's not like this wasn't Frog Nation coming together to like, this is not a fire Nico situation. It was, but if anyone is thinking that, just understand that this is super common for pitchers. Like, the list of guys who have had this injury and this surgery is longer than Santa's list. So just keep it in perspective that this is almost a prerequisite to being a pitcher at this level or beyond, is that this is probably going to happen to you at some point.
That's just a note to Ray. During the 7th inning stretch of the first game, that sign that you had that said "Fire Kirk," you might want to get rid of it because he's going to kick you out.
Is there a different Ray on this podcast that I'm not aware of? What do you mean? Expand on that, MK.
So the only thing was, so one, I'm sad I forgot my notes, but two, so dude, I had this huge, like, long thing.
No, you know what's really funny about Martin forgetting his notes is he was bragging about
nothing is
no, he was like, look how hardcore I am. I write everything down.
So
you don't forget your laptop. You might forget a notepad, though.
So on March 31st, 2023, Ben Abel had a career ERA at TCU of like 6.91. And he put up like a 3.6 the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And then he put up like a 1.84. So what is that, like a 1.5 ERA in like 80 innings?
Yeah, dude. I mean, his numbers are off the charts. You talk about strikeout rate, walk rate, whip, everything is, it leads you to believe he would have been a really good Friday night guy.
Bummer.
Let's get off the depressed mode and move on.
Yeah, it had to be addressed, though.
No. We had to talk about it, and I think we did for quite some time at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
So that's the bad news, right?
Other outgoing production. Let's just knock it out now.
Okay, let me pull up my spreadsheet. All right. I'm not going to go guy by guy. The one that's, really important to note is Peyton Tolley, who, we thought he would be a really good weekend piece. We did not expect him to be, one of the best Friday night guys we ever had. I'm looking at his numbers here.
I actually like that. I like that comment, Jacob.
Yeah, stall for me here while I actually pull up his numbers.
That's right. We expected him to be good, but he turned into kind of the one consistent person on the rotation of all last year.
Absolutely.
And a guy that we could count on, hey, we're going to win Friday night.
And, we talked to Kendall and we talked about the Frogs getting left out. And I think he kind of made the point that I wanted to make while he was kind of giving his referendum was, once TCU got in, they could have done some damage. And, my point was because a lot of people thought, well, like with the season we had, it's not like we would have done much in the postseason anyway. Dude, Peyton Tolley could go up against any lineup in the country last year. So you get in a regional, and let's say you throw whoever in the first game, and then you go up against the 1 seed in the second game. You got Peyton Tolley going. Now you're 2-0 in a regional. And then if you get through that and get to a super, now you got Peyton Tolley going in one of those super games. And okay, so just real quick. So 3.21 ERA last year. Struck out 126 guys to only 37 walks in 81 innings pitched.
Martin.
So absolutely phenomenal year. I think back to the game he had against Oklahoma State where we did not score an earned run against Oklahoma State, and we won the game 1-0 thanks to Peyton Tolley.
Martin? There, you're muted, buddy. You're muted.
Okay, now.
Cut this out, Ray.
You know, it's funny. I repeated myself, so I'm glad that wasn't heard. But those 126 strikeouts by Tolley. So he finished second in the Big 12. 3 behind the guy from Oklahoma State, the little short guy. So he had 129 in
Holiday.
In over 30 more innings.
Yeah.
There's like 90 opportunities to get 3 more strikeouts.
Yeah, Peyton Tolley was just insane.
So I think that's what Kirk mentioned. Jacob, he's like, we've got Peyton Tolley. That's a win in a regional. That's a win in a super.
Yeah.
And then what Kendall mentioned was the fact that he was going through all this stuff off the field, right? With his personal life and his mom, and just what a crazy season for that guy.
2 interviews in one day. I probably mixed them up. Yeah. Somebody had mentioned that, Peyton Tolley you can pencil him in as a likely win against anybody.
Absolutely.
As for the rest of the pitching staff, let me just go over some numbers here. So we are losing 61% of our innings pitched. Outgoing ERA, 4.57. Returning ERA, 4.99. Outgoing strikeout rate, 35%. Returning, 31%. Walk percentage, 14% outgoing, 12% returning.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. I was going to pull up some other, because last year I ran some numbers year over year, what we were losing. And
well, I have a question.
So last year, hold on real quick. Let me just run through this real quick. So last year we returned 53% of our innings, the year before 46, and the year before that 32%. So it's kind of an average year, mostly as far as outgoing versus returning. But I think the bigger story, as we'll get into, is the incoming.
Yeah, I think it's kind of flipped from last year. So last year we had like 3 elite guys on the staff and then a couple, solid pitchers. This year, I think a lot of guys could have a really good season. Last year was pretty much like Tolley, Hunter Hodges, Ben Abel get a win. Not sure who else. You had the guy that got drafted by the Royals, and you had Luis Rodriguez. This year, I mean, every guy coming out of that pen is going to be throwing good pitches.
Yeah, definitely.
Ray, do you have a question?
I do. Where does Peyton Tolley rank for y'all in favorite players at TCU?
Man, that's good.
Top 5.
Yeah, he's got to be way up there. I mean, just the season he had last year, his story, it's special.
I don't know. I have a weird criteria, so maybe I'm not the one to answer this question, because my top 5 wouldn't necessarily be based on, production. It could be based on walk-up song or position they played. So
my top 5 is based solely on single season production.
I was just saying, single season walks only.
So Martin's the one to answer this question.
What?
Are you answering it now? Or are you going to save it for later?
No, he already did.
I already did.
Top 5.
Yeah. So Ray, I was going to say, I am conflicted because his story and his ability on the mound on Friday nights like grew on us throughout the season. Like it started. I think I expected him to hit and to hit bombs onto Bel Air and to pitch, from the beginning. And maybe that was a unrealistic expectation to start. But then he started pitching well and was the only guy that we could count on really on the weekend rotation. And so it grew on us, plus his offseason stuff, and it was awesome.
Well, what I think of more than, the off-season stuff and the great numbers that Martin loves is just the fire me the fuck up moments that he had.
Yeah.
Either
Yeah,
coming off the
absolutely.
mound or running into the dugout saying, "You like that? You like that?"
Yeah.
He gets very good scores on production, personality, and what is it? Narrative.
Narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, narrative. There you go.
The only thing that lags is longevity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, and longevity is kind of a big input for me.
But now it almost means nothing.
Yeah. The transfer portals kind of
Speak for
changed
yourself.
everything.
Speak for
Okay,
yourself.
maybe it means more for others.
Yeah, I can weight my own criteria how I choose. Hey, speaking of Peyton Tolley, real quick. So tomorrow's Friday. It's opening day. We are going to be doing, hey, MK left and I don't hear any echo anymore.
Man. Parents have left.
I guess MK figured out it was him. Hold on, I'm going to add him back so we can hear this major announcement. Hey, MK, echo ended when you left. That was kind of awesome.
I just refreshed everything. Are we better now?
Yeah, I think so.
I hear it a little bit.
I don't hear a single echo.
So
I started to hear it, and then when you left, it disappeared.
I unplugged everything and just turned it off.
I don't hear anything now. I think
now I don't.
Yeah, I think you're good now.
All right. So MK, as I was saying before your exit interrupted me. Speaking of Peyton Tolley, tomorrow opening day. There's games on all day, but the Frogs' first pitch is at 8 p.m. way out in San Diego. So unless you're like Martin, who hopped on the team private jet to go out there.
You know what? I actually thought I saw Martin in the background of the TC baseball pictures they posted today as they're loading onto the charter bus.
Yeah, notice it's 8 p.m., not 9 p.m. I was about to miss an entire hour. So I'm glad that got cleared up.
Well, and Ray, to your point, Martin had that Facebook post of him with headbuds on.
Oh yeah,
hoodie on, and it said one heartbeat.
I actually got here like 30 minutes before the team did.
Oh, extra dedicated.
Yeah,
that's a private jet action working for you.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so if you're not like Martin, you're like the rest of us, and you're going to be watching on TV, hop on to StreamYard tomorrow or to YouTube and watch with us, because we can't stream the game live, but we will be on and reacting in real time, kind of Manning cast style without the game on. And I mentioned, speaking of Peyton Tolley, because Peyton Tolley will be joining us tomorrow on the live stream.
This is non-disclosure.
No, it's disclosure now. We are disclosing.
Let's fucking go.
Man, that was a hold on. I didn't get a very good reaction out of you guys, so there we go.
I just gave you an LFG. What more do you want me to take my hoodie off?
No, I'm not talking about
my head.
Ray, there's 4 other guys on here.
Peyton Tolley.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be awesome, dude. I'm jazzed.
So yeah, come watch
really
the
cool.
game with us, and more importantly, come watch it with Peyton Tolley. And he can
bring your girlfriend, bring your wife. It's Valentine's. We can all hang out with Peyton Tolley. Let's go.
Yeah, I did forget to remind Peyton that tomorrow is Valentine's Day, so I hope he doesn't ghost us.
Hope he doesn't realize he has a hot girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably
sorry, babe. I gotta go live stream with the bros.
I wonder if he's down in Florida right now.
Well, find out tomorrow.
It is pitchers and catchers season.
It's a good first question to ask right there.
It's crazy. We've been going 35 minutes and haven't talked about just about anything on the.
That's how you cope.
Yeah, that's how you cope. All right, let's get into the pitching. Man, I'm getting echo now. Should I try to log off?
So am I. I'm getting the same thing. That's what I heard, and I logged everything off. But
I fight through adversity, boys.
I asked in the chat if they hear an echo, and everybody said no. So I don't know. Let's roll on.
That is dedication, Bella.
That is dedication.
Well, read it for the audio only.
I'm excited. Only. Cancel Valentine's Day. I'm in with Roly Toly.
There we go.
About to make some Toll House cookies. Watch the Frogs beat San Diego. That is my own color. I added that.
Sorry, babe. Got a date with the roll boy. All right.
I got to roll with the Toly tomorrow.
We focused on Toly, but is there any other outgoing production that is worthy of mention?
Shoot, I had another note.
Hunter Hodges.
Yeah.
Oh, did you know?
Oh, I did. Here's my only note on outgoing, and this is kind of both. It's kind of, golly, that echo's driving me crazy. I hear it too. Anyway, there are 22 pitchers on this staff. I went through and looked at the mostly the last 10 years of TCU pitching. And 80% of your innings. So we'll call 80% your most important innings of the year. I just want you guys to guess, how many pitchers does it take to pitch 80% of your innings in a season?
Do you want me to guess?
No.
6.
I would say 8. I'm saying
give me 9.
Yeah, you guys are all correct. I thought that was a really low number.
I don't know, because usually by the end of the year, you've got your guys that you're going to ride with.
I think it's surprising because you have like 20-something pitchers on a roster.
Yeah, it feels like it should be more.
Maybe you should have only done like the COVID year because there's not always 40 guys on the roster.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but
hey, let's figure out this echo thing real quick.
Yeah, I was trying. I don't hear it now.
No, I know it's not you, JD. Garrett, can you mute for a second?
I certainly can.
Ray, can you talk real quick?
Talking.
All right, so there's no echo there. Ray, you mute. JD, you mute.
Stand by.
Garrett, can you talk? Well, off mute.
Yeah, that helps, doesn't it? Am I echoey?
Golly, no, you're not. That's the thing. I don't know what the deal is. It's just, I don't know if it's reverb from somebody that's like coming back in. I don't know what the deal is. So I'm gonna try to mute every time I don't talk. So
all right, let's just roll.
Got a soldier forward, baby.
Look, here's my thing. If people are listening for a breakdown on TCU pitching, they'll fight through a little bit of echo, even though it'll drive us crazy when we re-listen.
Thanks for sticking with us. Chinook Seedery, you get the best seats in town.
Yeah, buy your Chinook Seedery. Okay. But laundry. My point on
and laundry.
So this kind of ties back to the A-Belt thing. We have 22 pitchers on staff. We will briefly talk about each of them. But you only need 6 to 9 guys. So if TCU can find other guys to piece together those innings, they'll be fine without A-Belt. That's a funny comment by Jackson. Hashtag I stayed.
All right, let's talk about returning starters.
Yep. Hold on, let me fire up the full screen. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. You get the benefit of the visual aid.
You get the benefit of the visual. It's going to be amazing. Just wait for the slideshow.
I worked several minutes on this PowerPoint.
39 minutes of anticipation for this slideshow.
Yeah.
PowerPoint. Have you ever heard of it?
Yep.
All right. That's
PowerPoint.
Stadium.
Bang.
Welcome.
That's an old picture of Lupton Stadium.
All right.
Where's the green monster?
Yeah. Well, where's my batter's eye?
Chill. I had to find on Google an aerial view of the stadium.
Outdated.
All right. Harder than you think.
The way we're going to break this down, it's not going to be necessarily player by player, but more like group by group. So we're going to start with what we know are the confirmed starting pitchers. And this is circulated, it was first told to us by Kirk on Tuesday. And this is
via Postgame Bears podcast on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Yet shared by others.
Well, then Kendall was listening, obviously, because he was getting ready for his appearance.
Right. Exactly.
He slept on it for a day. Didn't want to look like he was going to scoop us or anything. And then he put it out.
Very nice of Kendall. So, all right, confirmed starting pitchers going tomorrow, 24 hours or less from now, is right-handed pitcher, redshirt junior, Cademan Parker.
Could not be more excited for Cademan this year.
Yeah, fire me up,
Get my
man.
drafts out of the way. So not to tie literally everything back to A-Belt, but I think one thing that the A-Belt injury does is put more pressure on Cademan Parker.
I don't think so.
Why not?
I think he was always going to have a role in this weekend rotation, whether it be, now Friday, this weekend, or Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, but there's a different kind of mental aspect to pitching the Friday game versus the Saturday or Sunday game.
But let's go back to what Kirk said about Cademan. He expected him to be drafted. Well, he was drafted. He did not sign. And instead he said, I am not done yet. I have more to give to this program. And so that mentality tells me he's ready. He's ready to go.
Yeah, 100%.
I have full faith in Cademan, but it is a kind of wait and see. How's he going to do being the everyday Friday guy?
You say pressure, I say opportunity.
There you go.
Bang.
Absolutely. But and
hey,
if you put,
they say pressure makes diamonds.
There it is. But if you put Ben Abel aside in another silo of your brain and you're just looking at these confirmed starters, not knowing anything about the program, you know pretty good. Like that is I mean, you know what I mean? Like it sucks to lose him. I really feel for him. That's an awful situation, but and I think a lot of the sadness on X is just the anticipation that people were wanting to see him in the new role, and that's not going to happen now. But you look at those confirmed starters on the screen. If that's incredibly encouraging, and I think a lot of programs would be very, very, very happy to have those three guys right there on the screen right now.
Yeah. So the other two are sophomore right-handed pitcher Tommy Lepore, and also right-handed pitcher freshman Trevor Baumler.
All right, Tommy Lepore, a transfer from Wichita State, familiar with that program. Let's
Strike
talk about
gold
Tommy real
twice.
quick.
So just to wrap up Cademan Parker, he's been at TCU for 3 years. He was one of the most exciting guys from that class that I saw, get to campus. He was highly thought of. He's a great athlete. He's the best fielding pitcher we have on the roster and probably one of the best in the country. I love PFP. Mid-90s fastball. The slider was ahead of the curve. Now the last exhibition game I saw, the curve was working. He was throwing it for a strike. He was throwing it early in the count for a strike. So that's 3 really good pitches. And he also throws a changeup. I feel really good about Cademan Parker.
I do too, and I'll tell you why. I'm looking at his graphs right now, and he was coming back off an injury. He had a rough start to the year last year, but throughout the season, his strikeouts per 9 went up, his walks per 9 went down, hits per 9 stayed about the same, but it was already relatively low. And with his strikeouts going up and walks going down, his whip trend also trended down. So he's trending the right way going into this year for sure.
And then with the D1, they have some advanced stats now with pitching. I can't find it anymore, but one of his pitches is either the curveball or the slider was one of the top 10 in the country in whiff rate.
It had to be the curveball, dude. The curveball is electric.
Yeah, I think the curveball was top 10 in the country in whiff rate. So that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I feel good about Cademan as well. It's just, how's he going to respond being the Friday guy versus Saturday guy? We wait to see, but
wouldn't you been saying the same thing about Ben? Taking it back to Ben Abel.
Okay, but if we're going to talk about Ben and mentality, I have no issues with Ben's mentality on Friday. To him, it was more about endurance. And I'm the guy who was I've been wanting Ben to start since his freshman year. So I'm all in on Ben.
We talked about that on the last year's pod.
Yeah, I thought for sure Ben should have started last year.
The only bugaboo for Cademan Parker is in 2022 and 2024, the walks were high. So if he can limit the walks, the sky is the ceiling.
They were high overall, but as the
ceiling is the roof.
Yes, Martin.
The roof is
overall the walks were high, but as the season went, the walks decreased.
The sky is the floor.
Yeah, I like looking at trends. Strikeouts went up, walks went down. I won't share the graphs because they're probably not exciting to anybody but me, but just take my word for it.
The staircase has been raised. We'll just say that.
All right.
Post the emoji with the stocks going up.
Exactly.
All right, let's get to Lepore.
Talk about Tommy Lepore. He's a transfer from Wichita State. Sophomore right-handed pitcher. Throws really hard. Really exciting guy. Wichita State, that's where Peyton Tolley came from. I'll be really interested to talk to Peyton on Friday about Tommy Lepore because they kind of overlapped at Wichita State. But what do you guys have on Tommy Lepore?
I have a question. He seemed like a penciled-in starter since the minute he stepped on campus.
Yes, for sure. But if you start reading the message boards and stuff like that, it's, will he be the closer? Will he be a bullpen guy? From what I read through the fall and the spring, I thought this guy should absolutely be a starter.
So they like having a no-shit closer. So that was the only reason why it was like maybe a question, because Ben Abel was moving from the closer role to the rotation. He also has 2 like elite pitches, and they really tried hard for him to get a third pitch, which I think he has one that's good enough now. The fastball is elite. It's like 96, 98. And then the changeup is like a huge change of pace, gets a lot of swing and miss. And he's a freak athlete. He's like 6'4", 230.
Yeah, he's going to be imposing.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver, tight end on the football team, and he was an all-state wrestler. So the athleticism is there, honestly, for the entire starting rotation.
And from a philosophy standpoint, if him being mentioned as a closer is because he's one of the best arms, I think you waste one of your best arms in that role. That's why I wanted Ben to start. If you want to go back to Halen Green, I thought he should have started. I'm no pitching coach, but I'm like, if you have your best arms pitching the fewest amount of innings, I think that's inefficient.
Well, I think TCU does more like a Hunter Catfish type of closer role where like they'll just get as many outs as it takes to end the game. The problem with last year, though, was that we didn't have a lead a lot.
Yeah.
So I do think Abel would have thrown at least 20 more pitches or 20 more innings last year if we would have had more leads.
But that goes to my point, Martin, is I think you're wasting one of your best arms if you're like, well, we'll just wait till the 9th inning when we have a lead. That's just such a limited segment of opportunities. Whereas if he's starting, it's 0-0. You don't know what situation the game's going to end up as. So you have your best arm throwing regardless of situation.
It is a risk for waste, yes.
So y'all, last year, Tommy Lepore, Wichita State, once the calendar flipped to May, he allowed 3 runs, 1 run, no runs, 3 runs, 3 runs. And that last outing against Tulane was on 3 days rest after he threw 115 pitches.
100 and what?
He threw against East Carolina. He threw 115 pitches and then came back 3 days later and threw 67 more and only gave up 3 runs.
Yeah. The Tulane thing was crazy coming back on short rest. But some of the trends for him, since Jacob likes trends so much.
I love trends.
The walks were a little high, which you could maybe account that for him being a freshman. The strikeouts were low for a guy that has a elite fastball.
Yeah, let's talk about that fastball. Like,
yeah,
we're talking high 90s, right? Like, we're gonna light up the
like
scoreboard.
the highest 90s.
Yeah.
Hello, heat sheet.
He was like touching 99, wasn't he?
Yes. I don't. He wasn't throwing like he wasn't like flirting with 100 in the fall, but I think he was trying to throw strikes more, and so he was still like 96, 98. And the big thing, the biggest thing this offseason was for him to learn a third pitch or have a solid third pitch, which is what he was working on all offseason. And I think he's progressed enough that he does. And the other thing was the fly ball to home run ratio was a little bit on the side that you don't want it to be. That could just be bad luck. So there's like a lot of places where he could see improvement. He was also one of the hardest pitchers to hit in the American Conference. He had the third lowest batting average against in the entire conference among qualifiers. So his stuff is hard to hit. He just needs to throw more strikes and get he gets a few more breaks with the fly balls, and his ERA is like elite.
Well, I want to ask Peyton tomorrow, what's the park like at Wichita State? Because we know what Lupton's like.
Well, me and Martin were up there a couple of years ago and watched Oklahoma. Didn't they get no hit as Wichita State put 17 on them?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it looked like a huge park, but I mean, Wichita State was just creaming the ball. It was hard to tell if it's a hitter's park or not.
All right, we have 20 more pitchers to get through. So we look forward to Tommy on Saturday. Let's talk about Trevor Baumler, freshman right-handed pitcher. He is slated to play both ways. My question now is, with Abelt out, does he now spend all of 2025 focusing as a starting pitcher?
That's a great question. Obviously, he could be a guy who could do both. He's a great athlete. You did it.
It's so hard.
I agree, but
I think your best bet for a freshman is, if you're going to be a two-way guy, you're coming out of the bullpen.
Pick one.
If you're asked to be a starter, I want you, in there with Dave Lawn in the pitching lab, not shagging fly balls in left field.
Yeah, makes sense. He just looks so good at the plate in the fall. There was the first game I went to go see. I didn't even know it was him because on the roster he was just listed as a right-handed pitcher, and I was like, number 24, that says he's a pitcher, and he just hit a home run to left. So I just tweeted, number 24 hit a home run. I wasn't sure who he was, but I learned the name Trevor Baumler very quickly.
Yeah, and Noah Franco, we'll talk about him, and he's getting a lot of hype, or actually, he's getting a lot of hype from us. I don't think he's getting enough hype from everybody else.
I would agree with that, including the coaching staff.
Well,
the fact that Trevor Baumler is a starting pitcher,
right?
That's crazy.
But that's my point. Is I think Trevor Baumler almost should be getting more hype.
Is Trevor Baumler the Noah Franco of this season?
Noah, yeah.
Noah was picked freshman of the year, preseason freshman of the year.
What I mean is by TCU fans. For the most part.
Also,
that could quickly change though.
But by Big 12 standards too, because Noah Franco had the pedigree before this to say, hey, he's the number 7, kid in the nation or whatever, and he shows up to campus and no one knows Trevor Baumler and he's dominating. And silence.
No, yeah.
It was really
MK, you'll get used to that. It happens to me all the time. It was
really similar. His production at the plate. So here's the thing. He pitched a lot on Sundays, and I can't make a lot of Sunday games, so I didn't see him pitch a lot on Sundays. But obviously he pitched pretty well if he's going to be starting opening weekend. The thing is, at the plate, he looked like Chase Brunson last year. And Chase Brunson was kind of like the unknown guy and broke out in the fall.
Man, this freshman class is legit, y'all.
No, it's exciting. Yeah, it's crazy, man. To have a guy like Trevor, but yet he's the guy we're sitting here talking about being overshadowed. kind of wild.
Yeah, to talk more about what he throws on the mound, he's a 4-pitch guy. He throws fastball, slider, changeup, and a curveball. I think the curveball is his best secondary offering. I think the fastball is like 92, 93, and then he also throws I think all the pitches are pretty good. They can all play.
All right, so that's the confirmed starting lineup. Are you guys good moving on to the other groups?
Por favor.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about, because we do have 4 games a week, sometimes 5. We have other possible starting pitchers. I'll just run through them real quick, and then we'll talk about who we want to talk about. We have freshman Mason Brassfield, who's a lefty, one of the rare lefties on this staff. Junior Luis Rodriguez, we know him pretty well, right-handed pitcher. Freshman Zach James, who's a righty. And then Cole Klecker, who we know very well, but he's injured. So where do we want to start with this group?
I'll start with Zach James. He pitched really well in the fall. He was it's hard to describe a freshman college pitcher like this, but he was like a bulldog. The velo wasn't like elite. He was like 89, 90, 91 sometimes, but this guy was not scared of anybody at the plate. He was attacking hitters, throwing strikes, pitching inside. He would not back away from any hitter, and he pitched really well in the fall. He was a candidate to be in the starting rotation, and you might see him pitch, maybe start some midweek games.
And coming from a freshman, that's really encouraging.
And I know we've talked about Noah and Trevor. I think Mason Brassfield might be up there as one of the best pitchers. Dude, this dude is insane.
All right, let me make a case for Mason Brassfield, and it's simple. He's a lefty.
He's a lefty with velo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he comes out of Bakersfield. He went to Bakersfield Christian, so he didn't play like the big California schools. The thing that I saw about him from high school was that he does walk guys, or he did walk guys a lot. But he has like nasty stuff. The fastball is good. It's from a different angle, kind of like Ben Abel, and the slider's nasty. He's extremely tough on lefties, and in the fall, he was the pitching MVP of the Purple White World Series.
Yeah. Yep.
Number 2 left-handed pitcher in California per postgame, or what do you call it?
Postgame for us.
Postgame.
Yeah.
Postgame.
We have a scouting department out in California now. That's awesome.
Yeah, shout out Jeff Looker.
We won't mention the names, but we've
been selling a lot of sunflower seeds.
We appreciate the guys behind the scenes doing all the work.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited about the 2 freshmen. Let me talk about Luis Rodriguez real quick. So he's going into his junior year. He's pitched heavily in both seasons at TCU. Pitched 52 innings last year, was one of the more reliable pitchers for TCU as a starter and a reliever. Graphing Lewis, his strikeout rate trended down from his freshman year and over the course of last year. His walks went up, but his hits stayed consistent. I still think of Lewis as kind of a reliable guy to go to, but improvement year over year hasn't been what we would hoped. What are y'all's thoughts on Lewis?
Well, I think, at the end of his freshman year, we're kind of thinking he might have been a Tommy John candidate. I mean, he was injured. He had an arm injury that sidelined him through Omaha. And then he comes back, and then it was just hard to get innings last year.
Was it hard to get innings last year?
I believe so.
So the comment about Omaha is interesting, Ray, because I remember him being our Saturday guy, and all of a sudden was it regionals and supers, and then Omaha, he was not there anymore.
Yeah, he was out, and they're being smartly being cautious with him.
Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah, and I think we talked about it at the time, like we want his health to be number 1, but we that was a big blow at the time because we thought he was a consistent starter, and then last year that didn't translate.
Yeah. I mean, he still had moments where he was really good. I think about the game against DBU out in, I'll call it Grand Prairie. It's not really Dallas. It's Grand Prairie.
You're right. I guess I'm thinking of he was a starter in 2023. Last year he was not.
But did they need him to be?
Yeah. I'm curious to see how 2025 goes for Lewis. He will get opportunities because of his track record. I just hope that things start to trend up for him.
If anything, though, I mean, he's a good veteran presence now, and I think he's going to remain a good workhorse. He'll still have the opportunity to eat up innings. Yeah. The guy has logged 100 innings in a TCU uniform.
And plus, you need guys like this on the roster, right? I mean, you're going to be relying on a lot of freshman arms,
right?
Yeah.
And you don't know how those freshman arms are going to perform. Yeah. My favorite quote ever is from Ron Washington right before the World Series, but he said, "You don't know how Booty Hole's going to react."
Yeah,
I love the fact that Louis back. I don't know, you see a guy in a TCU uniform for 2 or 3 years, and you kind of expect them to go to the draft, and so I did not expect him to come back, and so the fact that he is, I'm thrilled about it.
Well, it feels like a safety blanket.
It's a good way to put it,
because you can get excited about a guy named Mason Brassfield or Zach James, but like Ray said, you don't know how it's going to play out. But at least you have Lewis to fall back on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of guys kind of in the same boat, Cole Klecker, he has an asterisk next to his name because he's currently injured. He was injured through the fall. He didn't pitch last weekend in the scrimmages. I don't know when we're going to see Cole Klecker, but he's worth talking about because we don't know what his injury status is. He's entering his junior year, and like Lewis, he's pitched in both of the previous seasons at TCU. He pitched 48 innings last year, but that's down from 96 as a freshman. And the trends kind of explain why. Let's see. Hits are up. Ks were up, but also were walks. So when you talk about strikeouts, were up at what cost? And even when you talk about hits were up, a lot of those hits were home runs. So it's almost like he was throwing more strikes, and it was a disservice to him last year.
Yeah, you think whenever he was rolling his freshman year, he wasn't a strikeout pitcher.
Right.
And he was elevating the ball more last year. If he can work the bottom half of the zone, then that's where he needs to live. That's when he's working that bottom half of the zone, he's on.
Yeah, and going back to the big question is when are we actually going to see Cole Klecker?
I just have a lot of confidence in a guy that looks like his hair got struck by lightning. So I'm hoping he comes back soon.
Does his hair look like he was struck by lightning?
But maybe like a Preston Morrison type, like velocity's lower.
Dude, Preston Morrison ain't coming back.
I'm not talking about
he's the GOAT.
He's not.
I'm just saying control the ball, because that freshman year he did, and the ball was lower. And then last year he elevated it, like you guys said.
Yeah, and that was a concern of mine going into last year was his strikeout rate was so low. Like, is what he's doing, is it repeatable? And I don't think it was. So,
well,
I don't know. We'll see how this year goes.
I mean, it was clearly not.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. Our next group is key relief pitchers. Quite a big group here.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So
I'll start off with a couple of my favorite South Texas gunslingers.
Okay.
Mason Bixby and Cohen Feaser, top of the list right there. 28, 29, might as well be right next to each other.
Yeah, so Mason Bixby, right-handed pitcher who's a sophomore. Cohen Feaser, coming back off injury. He's a righty and is now a redshirt junior.
Yes. So Mason Bixby, he pitched a little bit last year. He had 18 innings. He struck out 26. Batting average was only 203. Again, the bugaboo is the walks. If he can just limit the walks, he can be a stud. It's funny. Like I said, most of the time I went to go see him see the exhibition games or the fall games on Friday. I see him on Friday, strike out the side, throwing like 99. The cutter's 93. The slider's 85, and it's got some break, and nobody can touch him. And then I see the reports from the next day, and it's like, can't throw a strike.
Yeah.
So if he can just make guys hit him, I think he can be one of the best relief pitchers in the country. Cohen Feaser, he's pitched 2 years at TCU, and he's been a very solid producer for this team. He was pretty good in 2023 when they went to Omaha. I'm pulling up the stats now. He had a 2.56 ERA in 31 and 2/3 innings. He's a guy who doesn't rely so much on the strikeouts. But this year, when I got to see him in the fall, he is throwing. What do you guys remember Cohen Feaster's velocity being like?
Do you want me to answer?
I think it was like
you probably have the best idea.
Yeah.
I want to say around 90.
91, 92.
Maybe 89.
No. Cohen Feaster was a hard-ass thrower.
Was he really?
I thought so. Am I way wrong?
I thought he was like 89, 91, maybe topping out.
Dude,
anyways, he's throwing like
mid-90s.
I don't think so, but
wait,
maybe
he's
I'm
throwing
wrong.
mid-90s now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he was like
I thought he did.
94.
I thought he did before.
I'll have to fact check, but I thought
maybe.
he was like 89,
but
90.
Current evidence points in my direction, apparently.
Spend some time in the weight room. Let's go.
That Tommy John bump.
Yeah, I guess.
Everyone needs Tommy John. I'm getting it tomorrow, actually.
Dude, I think Mason Bixby could be I think that's your closer.
I agree.
He is scary to look at and see on the mound.
The walks trouble me. If you're protecting a 2-run lead in the 9th and you walk a guy, that doesn't fire me up much.
But he's so big, Jacob. He's
big. I
velocity.
I love that.
That velocity has me hard eyes.
Me too.
Did you say, was that heart eyes or hard thighs?
He said the velocity creates some viscosity.
Whoa! Bang!
Where's the clapping thing?
Luca from deep.
All right. For the sake of the show, I'm going to bring up a comment from Jackson. We're significantly better having Lewis on standby for the rotation, and that made me think that I think in a normal year, Lewis is a guy who, given everything TCU has going on right now, it's like, all right, yeah, well, Lewis is a junior. He's going to be a starter. And the fact that we're talking about him as a fringe, maybe starter, and most likely a bullpen guy gives me confidence in the rest of the staff.
That also tells you a lot about Lewis too, right? That he's like, I want to stay with this program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he could have transferred. Yeah, you're right.
Isn't it kind of the Cademan Parker role last year?
Well, yeah.
Was Cademan hurt at the beginning of the last season? Or
no, he pitched in the first game against Florida Gulf Coast and got drilled.
Yeah, but they're also bringing him slowly along back from injury. But, I mean, I felt like he was in kind of that reserve role or whatever where he could slide in. You could
like a long relief swing role.
Yeah.
He definitely pitched a lot better as the season progressed.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Yeah. Let's go to
talk about Feaser. Next in line is Trey Newman.
Yeah, Trey Newman. He's a sophomore right-handed pitcher, transferred from Cal. He was a top 100 transfer according to D1. Last year, he pitched 62 innings, which is a good workload. He did have a 6.13 ERA, but going off the top of my head, because I don't have it in front of me, the teams he faced were mashers like UCLA, Washington State, Arizona State. Yeah, so I kind of take that ERA with a grain of salt. I know they've liked what they've seen out of Trey Newman in the fall and the spring. But, yeah, that's what I have on Trey Newman.
One sec. So Trey Newman and John Lucas Shin, the two guys that were next. So I think they're both from California. So both of them are coming from the West Coast. Both of them coming from old pack schools. I think both of them could be huge, like pitching projects for Kirk, where guys who have good stuff. I think this is where like the advanced scouting comes in, and they see these guys and they see, man, these guys throw good pitches. They should be putting up good numbers. So I think both of these guys could come in. John Lucas Shin, I've seen him strike out the side a couple times in the fall and over the exhibition games. He kind of looks he gives me a little bit of Ben Abel vibes. He throws lefty. He throws like from a weird arm angle. He's like mid-90s. The slider's nasty. Left-handed pitchers have a very hard time picking up the ball. He looks really good. And then you look at his stats and it's like, man, how did he almost have like a 6 ERA at Washington? And then I think, well, maybe Washington was using him wrong.
Yeah. And that's the feeling I got studying Trey Newman. It's like his ERA didn't make sense.
Yeah, and then he pitched for Team USA over the summer. I mean, he must be good.
Yeah. All right.
Good intel. 2 transfers. Braden Sloan coming back after a couple of years. Junior, left-handed pitcher. He slated on like a couple Tuesday starter jobs last year, but never really kind of secured the role.
Yeah, Braden, he kind of had some adversity there trying to start, but really started to come into his own out of the pen. Potential closer for this year. Thoughts?
Dude, I love his strikeout per 9. I mean, it's like kind of Ben Abel territory. So on that regard, yeah, like when I'm looking at a closer, I want to see swing and miss stuff. Right. And I want to see a low walk rate. And I'm looking at his graphs, and his Ks per 9 kind of skyrocketed last year.
Well, yeah, he had that 13 strikeout, no walk performance against Arizona,
who we play a series against this year. So.
Yeah, he finished the year. He finished the year really strong. He ended up. I think he was 4-4 in the season, and he had that one save, a really big save there against West Virginia in the tournament. Also played really well in the last game of the year. I don't know, man. I like him a lot. I think he'd be a strong candidate to be a closer, or at least put into some really tough situations. I think he can find his way out of it. I think he proved that last year. He's got a good fastball, has a strong slider. But he impressed in a lot of different ways last year. He held opponents scoreless 7 of 12 of his relief appearances, and he did not allow any of his 13 inherited runners to score. So, no, I think there's a lot to be impressed with Braden. I think he could make a strong case to close games this season.
And I think a lot of his, if you want to point to negatives, I think a lot of it came from starting.
Yeah, and it was after he quit. He kind of realized that starting role wasn't working out. When he kind of came into his own and found his stride.
Was Kansas his last start?
I remember the OU game didn't go great.
I am not sure which one was his last start. I have to go back
because I remember that Kansas
the OU
defense failed him.
No, the OU game was after Kansas,
which was crazy though. So you take into account his bad situations here into starting. He ended the year with a 5.93 ERA, but had 43 strikeouts, and that was only through 27 1/3.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think in a pinch he can give you a start, but here's the thing: if a guy like Braden Sloan is in your bullpen all year, that means your pitching is doing really well.
100%.
Yeah, I think on a team, the way this team is built, I don't think he's ever going to be put in a situation where we're going to throw him out there for a start. I think he's just going to be a really good bullet in the chamber coming out of the pen.
Yes, I agree, except the only thing is he's a lefty.
That's true. And we're kind of
we are lefty poor this year.
We're very lefty poor. That's true.
All right,
so I also think with a lot of freshmen, right? If you're going to have freshman starters, they're generally not going to go deep into games, right? You're going to need someone that can give you multiple innings.
Yeah,
I think use Braden Sloan in a role like that, or even like a high leverage situation. Say it's the 7th inning and it's a 3-2 game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
something like that.
I think if we're talking about replacing Ben Abelt in the aggregate, this graphic we're looking at becomes the most important one.
Yeah, let's moneyball the Frogs.
And that's my point, right? Is I don't think there are many teams in the country that can have the luxury of having key relievers or other possible starters to replace a guy like Ben Abelt.
Hey, take these 8 pitchers right here, aggregate their stats and see if they match up to Ben real quick.
All right, let me whip that up real quick.
Yeah, thanks. We'll wait. We'll hang out and just wait.
Yeah,
until you
talk about long drink for about 43 minutes.
Okay, you just look at these 8 pitchers. How many other teams would just take? Okay, we'll take these 8 pitchers, and they would be their best 8.
Yeah, well, that's why TCU is TCU, right? Because these guys are here.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last 3 on the list. Carson Cormier, redshirt freshman. Cormier, excuse me. I've got a friend with the same last name, pronounced differently. Blake Rogers, he was here last year, but was out for injury. He's a transfer from Baylor.
Yeah, we should have fired the strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah. And then Jack Strager, also here last year, but just didn't get a lot of play time.
Another injury bug issue, man. It's a bummer, but he'll be another good option for long relief this year. I mean, he definitely has it.
So we will see these 3 guys, right? Kind of coming in here and there just to test things out. But we don't expect them to be like premier relievers, but maybe kind of.
So here's the thing, MK. We talk about other possible starting pitchers, right? Like any of these 4 guys, Brassfield, Rodriguez, James, hell, even Klecker, they have a chance to break those top 3, right? So in the same way, key relievers, they could jump up to start the Tuesday night game or like, what point am I trying to make here?
Anybody?
They're interchangeable.
They're interchangeable pieces. Like a guy like Jax, who we didn't get to see that much last year. He only had I believe it was 4 appearances, but he helped people scoreless 3 of those 4.
He could jump up and be the key guy. He could be in that, we talked about the 6 to 8 pitchers that pitch 80% of your games. This list of 15 guys are competing to be in that top 8 or 9.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Carson Cormier. So didn't see him pitch last year for TCU. He went into summer, pitched for Victoria Harbor Cats in the West Coast League. He had an all-star year, put up a 1.46 ERA in 24 2/3 innings, struck out 34. So he had a great summer. He pitched pretty good in the fall. And then Blake Rogers, we talked about, he missed last year, recovering from Tommy John surgery. Pretty much the same scouting report from last year. Sinker slider guy. He's tough on righties. When he's on, he gets righties, especially righties, but hitters on both sides, to pound the ball into the dirt. And then the slider kind of falls off the table.
Yep. All right. Y'all ready to move on?
Let's do it.
All right.
Please.
Impressive freshman. So we have to get to the fourth graphic to talk about Noah Franco, freshman left-handed pitcher who Kirk has already said he's going to pitch this weekend at some capacity.
That's going to be awesome. Do you think they're going to throw him out just on Friday night after after the starter just to see him early? Maybe he can come back on Monday.
Dude, I really think that with him being a freshman, they're going to give him his first opportunity in a low leverage situation. So it could be Friday night if we're up by 6 runs.
Our friend, our guy, Braden Saprinit is listening right now. So
I
think what we're doing
stealing knowledge to get to San Diego.
What we're projecting is the Frogs are going to be up 12-2 on Friday night. They can bring in Franco just for an easy, end of game type situation.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, no. So Braden is the play-by-play guy for San Diego. He has already told me, he's like, dude, no offense, but I like San Diego in a sweep.
A sweep?
Yeah, he said San Diego 4-0. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't say that.
LOL.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm really curious to see how Noah Franco does this season. With A-Belt being out, there's going to be an emphasis on pitching, and with our kind of lack of left-handed pitching this year, Franco could rise to the top of key relief pitchers. Mm-hmm. Hell, he could even be in the rotation before it's all said and done. Like, the sky's the limit for this kid. He's that talented. So,
hey, Jacob, I just watched the last pitch of TCU Oral Roberts in Omaha, where they won 6-1 and eliminated Oral Roberts. So Cohen Feaster closed out that game, and he threw 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, I love that. All right, let's talk about fellow freshman Cade Udy, who's a right-handed pitcher. Cade was the number 65 pitcher in the state of Texas last year. He features a fastball in the low 90s. He also throws a slider and a change. And my takeaway from that is I love seeing a freshman come to campus with 3 pitches.
And he's also seen a big bump in velocity from his senior season. And honestly, there's like a similar story to a lot of these guys. So I think Nate Stern and Cade Udy were like the biggest jumps. I think both of them were like 88, 89, and 88, 89 seniors in high school. And over the fall and over the exhibition games, Udy was like 93, 94. Nate Stern was like 94, 95.
Yeah.
Huge jump in velocity. And like you said, they both got more than one pitch. It's not just like they're relying on the fastball, which maybe that's part of, them throwing 88 in high school was they had to learn how to throw other pitches. So that's kind of like a step up coming into college.
Yeah.
Martin, can I ask about that? Like, why would you, outside of weight training and, kind of conditioning and stuff, why would you jump that much in velocity from 1 year?
Please don't. No, I'm just kidding. Growth spurt. A lot of guys.
Protein shakes.
Yeah.
Spider tap.
Maybe it's not
Creatine.
The best instruction in high school to get the most velocity out.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Because, all right, if you're throwing 88 in high school, like if I'm a high school coach, I'm saying go out and do what you do, buddy, because 88 is going to strike out everybody.
Don't change anything.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, if you're throwing 88, like the biggest thing in high school is don't walk everybody, don't hit everybody.
Yeah. All right, next we have these are all freshmen. Right-handed pitcher Caden Smith.
He is a Florida man. He is number 11 right-handed pitcher out of the state of Florida, and their 56th overall prospect. He's a guy who throws super hard. He's looked really good since he's been on campus. He's probably going to get a lot of time this year. Probably be able to eat up quite a few innings, but very talented. A really good addition to the bullpen. Throws really, really hard.
Okay. Anything else on Caden Smith from the room? Freshman right-handed pitcher Andrew Carter.
Mr. Carter, back to California. A lot of California kids on this team. Dude, kind of a big freshman, 6'2". He was the 26th ranked right-handed pitcher of the state of California, 83rd overall. That's good for 189th in the nation.
Okay.
Big frame. He's got a quick arm slot and a low effort release. I mean,
Love that. Love low effort release. All right.
Who's next? Is it Tyler? No.
Nate Stern.
Yep, Nate Stern.
Yeah,
I already
Nate
talked about
Stern.
Nate Stern.
well, you can do Tommy Bridges.
Yeah, I talked about Nate Stern.
You did.
All right. Right-handed pitcher Tommy Bridges.
Tommy Bridges, another California kid out of the LA area. 5'11". The thing that stuck out to me, doesn't have a lot of velocity, but they say he has an aggressive slider, and you know how Kirk loves a good slider.
So do I.
I mean, when we're talking about freshmen, I got to get eyes on the kid.
Yeah. I mean,
Good point.
We're getting to the point in this analysis where it's like, let's wait and see.
Right. Like,
But
Yeah.
and Tyler Finau is next, but just to talk about this freshman class as a whole, outside of who we've already talked about, like Baumler,
Brassfield.
Yeah.
Big
Brassfield.
three.
So if we lose a lot of guys to the transfer portal next year, it should not be a shock, because I don't know if we've ever had a freshman class this talented.
Maybe
have we ever had a freshman class this right-handed?
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Yeah, for real.
All right, so 2 left-handed pitchers coming in. We got Noah and Mason Brassfield.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
9 right-handed freshman pitchers. Another thing I find interesting, all 4 transfers, Gianluca Shin, Carson Cormier, Trey Newman, and Tommy Lepore, all left-handed. Obviously, that's done on purpose.
Tommy Lepore is right-handed, brother.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Well, my
But
notes
your
are
point,
off.
dude, your point still remains the same, that they knew they were bringing in a lot of righties, so they had to go out and find some lefties in the portal.
Yeah. Any notes on Tyler Finau or Tyler Phenom?
Femmeow.
No.
Tyler Finau, interesting guy. He's 6'6", 205. He's from Champlin, Minnesota. So cold weather guy. Dominated high school up there. I didn't even know they played high school that far up north. I didn't know they played high school ball that far up north.
I think he was the only pitcher in his town.
He had to drive 200 miles just to get a game in.
Yeah.
Played
Had
all
to
his
drive
games
200
in the
miles to
South.
strike everybody out.
They played
Haven't
them all
seen
in
him much. I
America.
think
Sorry.
We're getting to the end of the pod, ladies.
Man, it is
gentlemen.
loopy season.
I just heard myself like cut into like a million pieces because the internet cut out.
You sound good to me, brother.
So Tyler Finau, fastball is like 89, 90, and then the slider is like his best secondary pitch. But like I said, I haven't really seen him pitch much. He mostly pitches like on Saturday or Sundays. And that's all I have.
Okay,
dude,
so
could we do you know how we used to make
the
memes all the time? Can you
Oh,
make
brother,
a
we're
one
still making memes. Don't you
for
worry
Tyler?
about
You just got struck out by Tyler Meow.
or
He's
Tyler
got a little-
Phenom.
He's got a little kitten face.
Hey, can we make Instagram reels instead of memes this year?
Why not both?
Yeah, you guys want to head that up and kind of do
about
that for
that.
us?
Hey, Martin, get on that for me.
Nah, I
All
just
right.
like scrolling.
I want to make a point
that. I just
about
want to doom scroll LDC. Real.
I want to make a point real quick about pitching comparisons. I was reading D1 and I think it was Tyler or Trey Newman that they were like, yeah, man, damn it. You know what? Screw me. I can't remember.
This hatch chili Chinook is delicious.
Yeah,
It's my
no.
first time
All right,
tasting-
yeah. Thanks for vetting. Hey, who was the pitcher we had? The soft throwing righty a few years ago. God,
Mason
damn it.
Bixby.
No,
Preston Morrison.
golly, I should have looked this up because I can't remember now.
Jared Janzak.
Thank
Who
you,
you're
Ray.
thinking of.
Thank you for saving the podcast. Yes. All right. So Jared Janzak was kind of a unicorn. And I'm reading D1 and they're like, Trey Newman, he's kind of a Jared Janzak guy. And it may not have been a Trey Newman. It doesn't matter. But
yeah, it was Trey Newman.
okay, fine. But can we stop saying like, yeah, this guy, he's the next Jared Janzak. Like Jared Janzak, Preston Morrison, they're one of a kind.
Dude, remember when they
it's like
said Peyton?
Peyton told he was Luke and Baker.
Yes, that drove me crazy.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's like the only guy they can remember that's like kind of like that.
Yeah, hey, that guy was kind of a big guy too. And then just instantly draws comparison.
Yeah, I know I took the scenic route to make it my point, but you guys get it, right?
I mean, hold on. Gianluca Shin, he reminds me a lot of Ben Abel. I'm just saying.
Like, there's not going to be another Jared Janzak. There's not going to be another Preston Morrison. Trey Newman is Trey Newman.
Dude, well, I don't know, Jacob. You know, TC's got this kid, Noah Franco. That first base pitching combo, that's very Luke and Baker.
Very Luke and Baker. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. That's really it, guys. I'm going to end the screen and we can go to final thoughts.
Well, I have a question more. Okay, so you see what the opening weekend rotation is, and it's never the same.
Yep, that's a great point.
What do you think will be whenever we're going into May, getting ready for the Big 12 tournament? What do y'all think that rotation will look like?
I think a lefty will be involved. I love Mason Brassfield.
100%.
I think he'll be in there somewhere.
Same, dude. I'm on the Mason Brassfield hype train.
Yeah. Anybody else? Zach James sticks out at me.
Go for it, Martin.
Like I've said all fall, there's about 7 guys. I mean, Kirk's been saying it. Everybody pretty much involved with this program has been saying that there's about 7-8 guys who could start. I will just say, even with Ben Abel out for the year, this is like one of the best weekend rotations day one that we've kind of had in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the rotation last year going in?
Zach Morris was in it.
So it's totally Friday, right?
Yeah. Totally Klecker. We felt good there. But then Zach Morris. And dude, if we're going to be retrospective, I remember Kirk saying Zach Morris was in the rotation. And I said, okay, so Zach Morris is either way better than I know him to be, or our starting pitching might suck.
I mean, he did have a really good fall. I think he did say coming out of fall.
Yeah,
Zach was
right.
their best
Against an
pitcher.
offense that couldn't hit.
Well, that's the thing. Not this past fall, but going into last year's season, dude, all they did was crank home runs.
Right,
yeah, against pitching. Look, our pitching was really good last year overall, but there were real obvious holes.
We need to come up with some rules after fall ball. Number one, if your hitting is great, your pitching sucks.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because I remember last year when Ben Hampton wasn't in the rotation, that gave me 2 alarm bells. That was Ben Hampton's not as good as I thought he was, and our rotation is not as good as I wanted it to be because Ben Hampton's not in it. And it's Zach Morris.
Dude, yeah. But, I mean, we were sitting back to fall watching Ben Hampton just get lit up.
Yeah.
Lighted
up.
Yeah.
He got long drinked up.
All right. So going back to your question, Jacob, we've got some returning guys that have started but never been consistent starters. So let's talk about Braden Sloan, Louis Rodriguez. I'll throw in Mason Bixby. He was there for a couple weeks. I think one of those guys that have started before is going to step up and be kind of the end of the line.
Braden Sloan.
Luis Rodriguez. He's done it before.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a big trends guy, as I've stated, and the one guy that's trending up is Braden Sloan.
And he's a lefty.
Yeah. I didn't want to highlight that point because I didn't want it to overshadow the fact that his Ks per 9 are up, his walks per 9 or whatever, they're down. And Lewis has been trending down in all directions.
So Coach Lawn was just a year early, but he was on the right track.
Coach Lawn will age well.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to end the pod.
And Sloan is a very high energy guy too.
Let me just give one more statement. We lost Ben Abelt, but I think our pitching is the strength of this team. I think we can sustain Ben Abelt. I think that TCU will go as far as the offense goes. The pitching is going to be good.
Well, I think after, we've done both offense and now the pitching staff.
Yeah.
This is the most balanced TCU team that I feel like we've had going into a season in a long time.
Yeah, dude, I'm trying to be real careful because last year we got real excited about the depth and turns out we had zero depth. Like we were really dependent on kind of a few guys on pitching and offense.
Well, we didn't even mention Silva and Carson Bowen in this podcast. So, we're real deep.
Yeah, we didn't say if Silva and Bowen can be first-team All-Americans and it doesn't matter who we pitch.
I was kind of kidding because they're not pitchers, but whatever.
I know.
I mean, Carson might as well be a pitcher. He's commanding the pitchers. He's the leader.
Yeah. So, guys, we are 22 hours away from first pitch.
Are we pulling an all-nighter until
No.
I'm not getting off of this pod until first pitch tomorrow.
I thought he was saying we're 22 hours in this podcast.
It feels like it.
I've ran out of whiskey.
I'm on my seventh flavor of Chinook.
All right. My question for you guys is, what is your ceiling and floor? Like, what's your lowest expectation to where you're like, all right, I'm happy? And then what's your most realistic, like, you could say national championship, but is that a realistic high bar? You know what I'm saying? What's your ceiling? What's your floor for the season?
Floor regionals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like TCU baseball has put themselves in a position where every year the floor should be regionals.
I think that's too low, but I like it.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Garrett. Wait. Sorry. Ray, what's your ceiling?
Omaha.
Okay. Garrett.
Floor, super regional.
Okay.
Ceiling. I guess, yeah, let's just stick with Omaha, keep it ambiguous, but yeah, Omaha.
Okay. Martin.
So I like to be very specific, but my floor, as long as there's no more extenuating circumstances with this season, my floor is top 3 finish in the Big 12, winning a regional, and then my ceiling is winning the Big 12 and winning a super regional, which obviously that means Omaha. But the reason why I say winning a super regional is because I feel like this team is always built to win a 3-game series over double elimination.
Because we emphasize pitching.
Right. And also on the offensive side of the ball, I think the way that we play offense, especially under Mosiello, is built to wear teams down. Yeah, it wears them down and gets into their, it gets into the what do you say, the meat of their bullpen.
Yeah.
So I've Mosiello's like 4-0 or 5-0 in super regionals at TCU. I think 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I do know that. Yes. All right, MK, before I ask you, I'll say I cannot have said it any better than Martin, so I'll just piggyback off him. But what about you? Ceiling and floor.
Yeah, floor is a regional where you finish 3rd or 4th in the Big 12 and you get sent to a tough site, and then you end up losing to a better team. They're a top 8 seed
on a Monday.
So you would be happy with that?
No. I would not be happy. I'm saying
well, that's my question. What would you be happy with?
I'd be happy with that. Like if they're playing, game,
it's better
either
than
the extra game on, either a Sunday or Monday, depending on when they start the regional, against a high powered, let's just say they have to go to an SEC school, right?
I think my ceiling for this specific team, because we haven't seen them play, so it's preseason, would be going to A&M, winning that regional, and then similar to Indiana State, hosting a super because you're the higher seed, and getting to Omaha because that way. It's really hard for me to envision going far in Omaha based on what I know from other teams in the nation. But if I see some, if I see Silva, Carson Bowen, and some pitchers that we know that are coming back that step up, I think, my expectations could change very quickly in the next couple weeks.
But I think this team more than, like say the 2023 team that went to Omaha is in a better position. I mean, just looking at it, like if they were going to Omaha, I think they have the more pitching depth to advance deeper into Omaha.
Hey, real quick, can you name the opening weekend starting rotation from 2023?
It was
2 years ago.
It was way different than it was when it ended the season.
It was
way different.
Vanderhigh.
Yeah.
Oh, Vanderhigh. Oh.
Yeah.
Cam Brown.
Cam Brown. Yeah. And that one guy, I'm trying to think of his name.
Correct.
Wasn't
What was his
Klecker?
name? No,
Because Klecker
No, it wasn't
showed
Klecker.
out against Arkansas.
no, he was good. Shoot, tell me his name, and I'll honestly tell you if it's the guy I'm thinking of or not.
All right. I'll let somebody else guess if they want to while I pull it up.
Well, what class was he?
He left after that year. If it's the same guy I'm thinking of.
Was it Luke? No, wasn't Luke Savage.
Lukey B.
No. God, I think it. Fuck. Did his name start with a C? Fuck, what was his name?
Martin's not good at giving hints.
No,
Like,
he's
just sitting-
terrible.
Without the answers.
Sitting
So we
there
won-
being all stoic.
We won the first 2 games, even though Cam Brown went like 1 1/3 innings on Saturday.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think Vanderhyde went 4 on Friday. We lost the Sunday game against Mizzou. Okay.
Oh yeah, it was a transfer.
Oh,
Okay, so his first name and his last name start with the same letter.
Hunter Hodges?
No.
Dude, I know who you're talking about because it was kind of a surprise that he was getting the start.
No.
Because
It's
I
not
thought
the-
he was
not
going to be
the
a
same guy I was
bullpen
thinking
guy.
of, then.
He was the hero of the season.
He was from. Was he from Arkansas?
Oh, no. I don't know. I give up.
Cole Klecker.
Sam Stoutenborough.
Oh, Sam.
I knew he-
Dude,
There you
that's
go.
close.
I
legend.
must have been a year off.
Still, TCU legend. Still working for TCU. Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, if you're a corporation looking to donate to TCU's NIL fund, hit up Sam Stoutenborough. He can get you taken
Talk about
care of.
unsung
Spell it.
hero.
Yeah.
Unsung hero.
Spell
of the
Stoutenborough.
season.
I think that was a year off.
This is
STOUTENBOROUGH.
good. This is great podcasting. I just
How
want to
close was I, Martin?
Dude, who
Close
cares?
enough,
We're
buddy.
we're so close to we're so close to first pitch.
I didn't hear a ding, so I must have gotten it right.
say. This is fun, fellas. Can't wait.
Wait,
Watch
Riley
the football.
Cornelio is who I was thinking of, but I think that was a year off.
Oh, yeah,
Just a bit outside.
he got lit
I
up
was
by
off. I was off.
Eula.
All right. Hey, who's going to be on tomorrow for the live cast with Peyton Tolley? Me.
I'll be on for a
Ray.
little bit.
It depends on what time I can put my wife.
I know it's
to bed.
Valentine's Day. I get it.
It's
Martin's going to
Valentine's.
join us live from the stands. We can get a in stadium experience if they let him in.
I hope
They may
so.
have like wanted posters of Martin hanging at every.
Dude, I'm
Turn,
getting the dugout. Actually, I'm gonna be
No.
sitting next to Adrian Beltre.
If we see,
They-
if we watch Martin like after like the 7th inning, it's like he's on first base coach. You know, just like out there. It's like what the hell?
So Thomas is asking what time tomorrow. I'm saying anywhere between 7:30 and 7:45. We can do kind of a pregame show because we'll
Oh,
have a
dude, this-
lineup.
Let's get a little closer to like 7:50.
Well, I'll be on. I'll be
10
on.
minutes is a
Pacific
long
time.
time to fill before first pitch.
Yeah,
Tell me
but
a Pacific
dude,
time.
I will rush Limbaugh this thing and go solo. I don't care.
Actually, we could get Martin on before.
True. We'll have
We
a
could hear
starting
the-
lineup.
We could
We'll
hear the
have-
national anthem live.
Yeah.
You could.
You could. All right, boys. Well, it's been a long off season, or maybe.
Do you believe it's already
I don't know.
here? No, I feel like it went by in a blink of an eye.
I feel like we
No,
just
dude,
finished
it
the
took
season.
forever.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I know. I
hey.
feel like it took. Hey, real quick, who won the Natty last year? Go.
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
All right, okay.
Rocky Top.
Martin,
I thought that would be
Rocky
more
Top.
challenging.
Martin, enjoy San Diego. You are there representing the LDC. We
A
appreciate you.
whale's
I hope you
vagina.
brought some signs that say "Fire Nico" or some, garbage.
No, he's gonna send 0 content and say, "I'm not here to work."
I'm here to hang out with my wife.
Yeah.
Martin, meet up with Cam.
Already
All right.
did. Shout out Cam. Forgot to do that.
Great
Shout out
pod,
Cam.
long pod. Can't wait to watch a game tomorrow, fellas. Go Frogs.
Yep. Go
Go
Frogs.
Frogs.
See you, boys. Happy game day.
Game day.
Game day.